Welcome to the Five Stack. My name is Dean Blundell.substack.com. That is my friend Zev Shalev, my host, co-host, my friend, my mentor, my man. Narrative.org is where you can find him. And that is, of course, my dear friend, award-winning whistleblower, Trump MAGA OG fixer, Mr. Lev Parnas, ladies and gentlemen. Lev Remembers is the name of the Substack. And we got some shit to get to. And just before we get going, if there's a reason why I look like a real middle-aged snack today, it's that I just came from a wedding, put my phone in the cradle and said, we got to talk about Canada versus America. We got to talk about Trump versus us. We got to talk about commercials. We got to talk about Ronald Reagan. We got to talk about Steve Bannon because everything's going on today on a Friday. So let's start there because, Lev, you texted me this morning. And you're like, bro, we got to do this thing with Canada. And you texted me last night. You're like, bro, he's coming after Canada. And just to bring everybody up to speed, Trump canceled all trade and tariff negotiations with Canada over a commercial.
So he says.
over a television commercial featuring a Ronald Reagan speech about how tariffs are stupid if you lay them on your allies, and it works in the short term, but long term, it ends up fucking Americans over. And so the province of Ontario, the Premier Doug Ford decided to stick about $40 million in these TV commercials, reminding everybody what Ronald Reagan said back in 1983. Donald Trump then sees this, obviously, when he was watching television in the catch-up room, and decides he's just going to cancel negotiations with Canada. Lev, take me inside the White House, because this is one of those things that happens where you're like, is this the most petty cuck on the planet?
Nah, this is Donald Trump. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. I mean, it's when you're dealing with a person that lives in this little bubble of his own little world. These things are. I mean, think about what he said. First of all, the excuse he said that Canada, I mean, is trying to influence one of the biggest decisions the Supreme Court has to make. And so Canada is influencing the Supreme Court by putting out a commercial using Ronald Reagan's own words. But to go to the extent to say that now that they lied, that they had the actual Ronald Reagan's foundation, I think, Zeb, maybe you could jump in and tell us more information about that. But literally come out and say that they made up his words or didn't use his exact terminology or something. But this is crazy shit that's going on right now.
It is complete crazy shit. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look, firstly, I don't know, maybe the wrecking of the East Wing has raised the ghost of Ronald Reagan or something, because, Ronald Reagan is now out there on every hour on every news channel telling us exactly why tariffs really suck, which is exactly the opposite of what Donald Trump really wanted to achieve, because he was trying to blame Canada for the collapse of these talks, which are really his fault because he's not been negotiating in good faith at all. So instead, he makes it all about these Reagan ads. But in so doing, he's pointed attention to this 5-minute speech that Reagan gives in 1987, which flawlessly argues why tariffs are really a terrible idea. So if he was trying to suppress the Canadian message to the Supreme Court, he's done nothing but the opposite. In fact, he's now amplified it. We've all seen it a million times. The numbers are way up. This could have been like a one-day blip in the messaging thing and a good move by Ontario. But now it's a multi-day success for Ontario and for Doug Ford and for Ronald Reagan, it seems, he can rise up from his ashes and declare that tariffs are bad policy, which we all know anyhow, and we can see in reality.
Yeah. Well, let me take you through some of these thin-skinned tweets. And just to kind of fill in the blanks here, is the province of Ontario earmarked about $40 million. They've upped that to 75. I'm hearing they're going to actually increase the spend because of the success of this whole thing.
Keep it up.
Dude.
And you don't need to spend because they're spending for you. They're just giving you free ad spend right now by amplifying this over and over and over again.
Isn't it incredible? Yeah. That's what I don't understand is he continues to bring attention to this. But let me just read you this thing that he put out. Canada cheated and got caught.
This is what I'm saying to you. Canada cheated to
So what is the cheat? Like, what is the cheat? You're like, let's explain what the cheat is, because
well, first of all,
Supreme Court, to influence
yeah,
the Supreme Court.
yeah, like we're trying to influence the Supreme Court. What Doug Ford did when he did this Ronald Reagan speech, and it's a brilliant commercial. And he just used a word. And by the way, the speech is readily available on YouTube.
yeah, lots of views. Got
yeah.
millions of extra views today because everyone's going there to check it out. You know.
So Reagan, his flawless speech about why you don't tariff your allies. So, and it wasn't Canada that put this together. It was the province of Ontario through Doug Ford. And Doug Ford's been pretty outspoken. And Doug Ford is really a Canadian carbon copy of Donald Trump, which is what makes this fascinating. It's like, okay, well, you got two pig-headed dickheads, that are both like as corrupt as fuck, and they're going at it on the airwaves now. So Trump is so pissed off. He puts this out when he sees the commercial. Canada cheated and got caught. They fraudulently took a big buy ad that Ronald Reagan did not like tariffs when he actually loved tariffs for our country. It's not what he said at all. And it's national security. Okay, sure, everything's national security you don't like. Canada is trying to illegally influence the United States Supreme Court in one of the most important rulings in the history of our country. Canada has long cheated on tariffs, charging our farmers as much as 400%. That's never happened. And this is all a lie, by the way, like a categorical lie. And other countries can't take advantage of the U.S. any longer. Thank you for the Ronald Reagan Foundation for exposing this fraud. Make America great again. The Ronald Reagan Foundation, he says in a follow-up tweet, has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake. It is 100% real. Featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75 million. Now it's $150, by the way. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and the economy of the USA based on their egregious behavior. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention in this matter. President Donald John Trump. Wow. Who wants to weigh in? And then we'll get to the details of why this doesn't fucking matter to Canada at all. Anybody, go. Anybody.
Well, first of all, I just want to say Carney deals with them like a little baby now. There, everybody knows how to deal. He's like, listen, look. He came out and said, look, we understand that American trade policies are not the same as they were in the 80s, 90s, 2000. We're living in a different world. Like, we're just like, Putin says the same thing. Putin comes out and says, listen, today Donald Trump said this, tomorrow he'll say this. Just like the whole world, it's like everybody understands that Donald Trump has gone to a different level. His narcissism, his attack on not just our institutions, but the world institutions, making himself think that he's a world king because he has the power of the United States military behind him, and he could think that he could just go bully anybody and tell them, like, you're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that, or we're just gonna either attack you or take it away from your. So Carney said it best when he said, listen, we're living in a different world right now with them. We're not paying attention to but one of the reasons why he did this is also, keep in mind, is I know he's very emotional. I know a lot of people right away, but also he's very calculated. He needs to change the news cycle because there's something that happened today that's happening actually right now that nobody's talking about. Who flew in today to the United States? Putin's right-hand man, Kirill Dmitriev. He is currently here. Right after sanctions, right after supposedly sanctions, that Putin came out and said, listen, he put out the sanctions, but let's not forget, who benefits when the price of oil goes up? The Saudis and us, he goes. The Americans don't even benefit, he goes, because, they produce the most oil, but they use the most oil, so they end up buying it anyway, he goes. So, thank you, Donald Trump, he goes, for, those, sanctions, as you want to call them. So,
is he really saying that? Is Putin actually telegraphing that these sanctions are good for him? I mean, are they? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. How are they bad for him? Because you gotta understand, any sanction is, listen, this is the same thing of anything that we talk about. There's a conceptual where you could turn around and you could say, like, even our debate, let's say, that we had about going out there and doing it. Yes, conceptually, yes, is a sanctions bad for Russia? if there was somebody to oversee it, if there was an oversight, there's somebody to enforce it, if there was somebody, yes, it would be bad. But the fact that he just put it out there, but in the meantime, he destroyed every single organization out there that's supposed to oversee, oversight, and watch these shadow fleets and sanctions happen. There's nobody to enforce it. So it's
Right.
like a paper tiger, saying, yes,
Yeah.
we did it. But what it did do is, as soon as he announced it, what happened to the prices of oil? Right away, it shot up right after like his announcement. So
Yeah.
what Putin is saying is like, yes, sanctions are not good, and they could hurt certain parts of the economy, but don't forget also who Russia is. We're the third largest oil producer in the world. So you're not only hurting us, you're hurting consumers, you're hurting people. He's saying so. So again, I'm not going word by word
Interesting.
of the speech, but the whole thing about it is, the interesting part is that if Trump is supposed to be like the media says, so pissed off at Russia, why is Kirill Dmitriev here and meeting with Congresswoman Luna, meeting with Stephen Witkoff, meeting with, continuing having these meetings and talking about that they're still in the talks where, that, yeah, Donald Trump didn't want Budapest, but we're still talking about meeting. Like, so they're still, progressing, like, they're treating Donald Trump like, okay, this was like a little outburst. Okay. So he, say he needed to sanction, he needed to do something to give his base, his people, the country some kind of meat. But again, at the end of the day, I always say, watch what the actions, not the verbiage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of stunning that Kirill Dmitriev, who's the guy in charge of trade, really, for Putin, is in the United States having talks with the sitting congresswoman and members of the Trump administration at the same time as they're busy announcing no trade talks with Canada. I mean, the American economy is suffering because of these tariffs. So is the Canadian economy, and they're busy opening the door and laying out the red carpet for Kirill Dmitriev to come and talk about trade.
I'll give you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, good.
I'm just going through Kirill Dmitriev. This is his Twitter, and this is what he just put out literally a couple of half an hour ago. Thank you, Lara Logan, for your interest in joint conversation. Putin's quiet diplomat Kirill Dmitriev on U.S.-Russian dialogue here on the U.S. tour. He arrived in the U.S. for continued U.S.-Russian dialogue, visit planned, going along dialogue vital for world and must continue with full understanding. He even put his, literally, like he put his plane arriving in the United States,
because he's a sanctioned figure. He shouldn't be here at all. They should be turning that plane around and sending him back to Russia. He's supporting a war criminal regime, and here we are inviting him into the White House and into the Congress to talk about things. It's ridiculous. This is a
he himself, Kirill Dmitriev, was sanctioned as a war criminal by the Biden administration.
Yeah. And I'll send you this. I'm going to post this later. Also, this is the speech by what's his name, Putin today, talking about actually the impact on Russian oil and on the sanctions and everything like that. So again, this is simultaneously, just like you said, while he's talking, he's doing this with Canada, they're opening up more relationship, more trade under the influence of sanctions, under the influence of all of this happening. But at the end of the day, it's watch what they're actually doing. They're meeting,
Zev, you brought something up that was really prescient, right? Is the idea that they're going to cut off negotiations with Canada, right, over a TV commercial.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're welcoming Kirill Dmitriev to negotiate a trade deal with Russia. They're welcoming a war criminal, not a Canadian, who, and by the way, a war criminal who was deeply involved in election interference, data theft, cyber attacks on the U.S. government for the past 10, 15 years. And they're welcoming him today with open arms. Meanwhile, he's given the stiff arm to Canada because he didn't like a television commercial that we sanctioned to go and put on American television this weekend, in his hero's own words.
Yeah. Look, I
Like,
mean, the reality of it is we don't need any more proof of what he's doing to the existing reliable alliances that the United States has. And what he's doing to Canada and what he's doing to the rest of NATO is all the same stuff. He's doing everything he can to destroy those alliances, and he's doing everything he can to hurt the Canadian economy because they won't submit to him, because they won't give up the Canadian territory to him so he can have the 51st state and whatever rare earth minerals Canada is so lucky to have. He wants those things, and that's what he's determined to do it. So because we're not bending the knee to great King Donald Trump, he's busy walking away from tariffs, making it impossible for people along the border to even earn a living on, especially on the northern part of the American border. I mean, they certainly are struggling a lot there in that economy. It's based a lot on trade with the United States, with Canada, sorry, and they can't survive. And to your point about, this is not like Reagan was misquoted or anything. It's true that the Ontario ad producers did splice him, and they took words that were in different parts of a long 5-minute speech and contracted it. So it's not exactly what he said, but the overall sentiment of his entire address was not fake. It was not fraudulent. It was exactly what he meant to say, that you can have tariffs as a small tool that you can use every once in a while. Tariffs can be very effective if you've got an economic trade war with, say, Japan over computers or cars or whatever it might be. But as a big bludgeoning tool to go after your allies, as a weapon to hurt everybody in your country and in your allies' countries, it's not a good tool. And everything he said in his speech has come true in 2025. So 1987, Reagan speaking from the grave, as it were, saying, high tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Well, guess what's happened in 2025? Canada, Mexico, China, and the EU have all imposed retaliatory tariffs. Trade wars are costing both countries billions in GDP, and it's just the way it's happening. Reagan in 1987 said markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs when tariffs are imposed. What is happening in 2025? 90,000 jobs or more have been lost since February. Manufacturing has lost 41,000 jobs. Factory hiring is the weakest since 2016. And you got Cleveland Cliffs, 1,200 steelworkers just lost their job there. What else does he say in 1987? He says the Smoot-Hawley tariff greatly deepened the Depression and prevented economic recovery. And remember, Reagan lived through the Great Depression. And this is what we're seeing. $88 billion are supposedly collecting somewhere in the Treasury. No one knows what he's doing with all those tariffs. But meanwhile, the American family is hurting, paying $1,200 more annually. Food costs are up by 5 to 18%. Canadian GDP is contracting. How are anything that everything that Reagan said in 1987 in that 5-minute speech is proving absolutely accurate in 2025 in Trump's regime, and as he's imposing all these tariffs? I mean, it's clear as anything. He was right, and Trump is wrong.
So Zev, I would ask you that. I mean, is this just a distraction, or is he really pissed off at Canada that we basically ripped the tarp off the cover of Night? The tariffs are great for the economy, with his hero's own words. Is he? Are you hearing anything from inside the White House?
I mean, I think the Canadians have had a really hard time negotiating with the American negotiators. According to all the negotiators that have been at the table, now that they can speak more freely, they're saying, hey, it's been really tough. We've been going to the table in good faith all the time. And they haven't been met with in good faith. This is the second time that Trump has done this, has walked away with a tantrum from Canadian talks. I mean, he's unpredictable.
Fourth. This is the fourth time.
Fourth. Yeah. I knew of two, but I mean, he's an unpredictable, unreliable partner who's not really there in good faith. He's not there in good faith because he is doing Russia's bidding. He wants to be Russia's, whatever, and he wants Canada to be eviscerated. That's why he's doing this in such bad faith, and that's why the Canadian negotiators are having a hard time getting to a deal. They are there every day looking for a deal, and he and his negotiators are not. So he's now using this ad to blame Canada, because why not?
But just think about it, guys, it's like not only is he destroying free speech in the United States, but now he's controlling free speech in the world. Just think about it. Now you can, like, what, let me ask you a question. if you go to China, Russia, forget his friendly countries, I mean, all over the world. I mean, you see ads that they make up shit. They'll use different like why like even like think about it, we're sitting here and we're trying to even justify that Canada, even though they spliced the words, they didn't. What difference what ad they made? What if they put it in there? Just think about the things that Donald Trump puts out there about Canada, other countries, or how what's it called? What I'm saying to you, the fact that we're even talking about that the president of the United States is now putting millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people's lives in countries in both the United States and in Canada, in any kind of situation because of a commercial, there. I mean, that is the craziest part. The fact that I mean, how is this a part of any negotiation?
This is economic warfare, Lev. This is economic warfare against the Canadian people and against Canada by the United States. This is what it is. It's war.
And you said 100% it's war, but it's more than just economic warfare. You're 100%, it's war. He's declared war. He wants to control what Canada can or cannot say. Forget about, he wants to control how they speak to the United States. How dare you insult Donald Trump, or how dare you insult? This is taking it to the next level, folks, because everything Zev has said to you is now multiplied by whatever level you want to do it, because he's 100% right. But now he's taking it to the next level. Now he's not only trying to control the economical, like you said, warfare. He's trying to control how people in the whole world speak. And if he doesn't like what you said, or if he doesn't like your company's messaging, or he doesn't like the ad you used, or the comedian jokes you did, he's going to go after you.
Oh yeah.
So what happened?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Lev. This is the next stage of his fascist takeover. It's all about controlling speech. You have to bow down to the great leader, or you get in trouble, basically. You have to.
Yeah, and what he's doing too is he's trying to prevent Canada from actually, fighting back on behalf of American citizens that are being crushed, because that was in the commercial. American citizens that are being crushed by Donald Trump. That wasn't an anti-American ad. That was an anti-tariff ad. That was an educational ad using the words of one of his heroes, and arguably, whether or not you liked Reagan or not, one of the most successful presidents in the history of the United States that Donald Trump fucking loved. And so did most of the people in the United States. Revisionist history would dictate he was pretty hardcore right, and his war on drugs was a bullshit effort, and he hurt a lot of people, and I get that. But to your point, this had nothing to do with Canada. Like, this had everything to do with Donald Trump being embarrassed by a television commercial, and that goes to the freedom of speech. Now, I'm going to back everybody up 48 hours from this announcement. Mark Carney, I don't know if anybody noticed it, held a surprise press conference. Lev, you might have seen it. I know, Zev, you and I talked about it on the stack yesterday. But Mark Carney held a press conference out of nowhere. And he not only he reiterated, but something changed in this last week. He effectively said, our relationship with the United States is definitely over. Our relationship with the United States economy and security is definitely over. Canada is going to move forward without the United States, because that relationship, and this is really fucking important, is a liability to us now. So what we have to do is we have to build Canada and build our military. And this is another, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is the tenet of what he said. And Lev, I want to come to you for this. He said, because it's coming to our shores. I wanted to know what that meant. And so I talked to a couple of people. There is real fear here in Canada that the partnership that they're curating, Trump and Putin, Kirill Dmitriev being in town, the pumping of this Trump tunnel into the Americas from Siberia, there is real fear here that this is now game on, has been for some time, and they were never going to negotiate in good faith anyway. So Mark Carney steps up to the stump and he goes, it's over. We're going a different direction. The very next day, they put out this commercial. Ontario does the very next day after that. So 48 hours later, all of a sudden, our relationship is over with the United States. And to me, I don't know, Lev, this is what it felt like. I don't know if you ever broke up with a girl or she broke up with you first. and then you call her back and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah. I mean, But that's Donald Trump. I mean, he needs to have the last word. He thinks he needs to be the one. That's a great analogy, calling up and say, "Oh, I feel better. I told her that I broke up with her." When reality is, she broke up with you. But that's the type that definitely is. But I think what we're seeing here, and that's why I want to keep the attention on it. And I think what Carney said and we're seeing play out is 100% right. And what you're seeing with Dmitriev here, the fact that, they spoke about this tunnel between Alaska and Russia, the fact that obviously Canada would be in the middle of all of this, if this were to take, I mean, there's a lot of, we're talking about crazy stuff, but this is reality. I mean, this is exactly, they're just putting it out there. We're thinking it's crazy because we're sitting here like normal human beings and saying, are you kidding me? A tunnel between Russia and America? That's never going to happen. Folks, no, they're really, really talking about it. They're really considering it. Elon Musk is involved in conversations. They're talking about the benefits and how it could bring and so on. So it's not as crazy. It's just as crazy as if I would have told you last year that, Donald Trump is going to destroy the east wing of the White House and build, a 90 square foot. You would have said, nah, that's not just going to happen like that. But it's happening just like everything else.
They have a desire for Canada for a number of reasons. And firstly, Alaska is perfectly situated for them to launch any attacks in the north part of Canada, which doesn't typically have a lot of defenses by the Canadians. I mean, it's not been a place where they've been concerned that anyone was going to attack. But now it looks like it could be. If they have that Siberia to Alaska tunnel, if they now have an opportunity to put Russian forces closer to Canada's border, sure, they'll start doing what they did in Ukraine. They'll start trying to incur into that territory. Now, if you look at the whole, northern border, it's northern coastline. It's not very well. It's not populated very heavily. It's a lot of native Canadians. There aren't a lot of resources up there to defend the country. But one thing that both countries, both the United States and Russia and China really, really want is the Northwest Passageway, which goes through native land, through Nunavut, if I'm not mistaken, and it's owned by Nunavut and the Canadian people. But they would like to use that Northway Passage because it's almost now year-round. You could basically take your ships and pass through there, and it's not frozen, and you can now travel to China and Russia, at a third less amount of time than it normally would take to go if you went the old route. It's all about money. It's all about resources, and it's all about the minerals that Canada has. But this is their intention. I mean, that's why Mark Carney's, I'm guessing, I don't know, I haven't spoken to the dude, but I'm guessing that is what's going on, that they're realizing that these are naked plans to try and attack Canada, to turn Canada into the next Ukraine.
Is that what you hear, Lev? Or, like they still have real intention? Because you and I talked about that on a podcast a while ago, and I'm like, hey, Lev, do you want to move to Canada? And you're like, no, because he's coming there next, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's why he's talking. That's why he's talking the way he is to Canada. Just think about in reality what happened. I mean, he basically told a sovereign country that because of their commercial during a baseball game, that whatever, that because of that he's going to punish hundreds of millions. I mean, he's just going to change the way, we're going to stop talking to you on tariffs because of your speech, because of the just think of that's what he ran on, the First Amendment, free speech, and now he's cutting it off in all over the world. I mean, he's basically taking it to a different level. So yeah, I mean, he looks at Canada as you gotta understand, he already looks at Canada in his world, in his bubble, in his enablers. They look at Canada, Greenland, eventually being part of the United States. It's just a matter of time. And this is, part of all these moves. These are another like little chess pieces on the board of trying to position, using the oligarchy, using the power of the money. Because like Zev said, like we always talk about, it's all about money. It's all about power. It's all about control. You might think, oh, it's because of this, but it might be as simple as the trade route, because like Zev said, for them, it cuts off and it gets a lot quicker to do it. And it's billions of dollars and what we're talking about. So that's what the name of the game is with these people. They take a look at the situation and say, how can we profit from it? How could, that's why everything you hear, like, oh, they gave that away for no money. There's no humanitarian reasoning for any of the decision
Never.
making. There's no, planning out what the world would look better. It's like, are you kidding me? You gave away, you said the Gulf of America should be the Gulf of Mexico. Why? Why would you do that? Like, do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's that that nationalist, attitude that they got in MAGA towards, like, us.
Yeah, it's manifest destiny. That like they really think that this is his time. He really thinks that he can do whatever he wants. He knows that Canada wants nothing to do with him. And I'm gonna give you everybody a couple of short strokes here, just so everybody understands what his announcement on Truth Social yesterday, ending negotiations with Canada, means to Canada. In a sense, jack shit. And let me explain why. Because this last week, Canada had a sectoral deal in place with the United States on steel and aluminum, not lumber, just steel and aluminum. And those are the two areas, along with truck manufacturing here in Canada. Those are the three areas that they're pinching us. That's where he's hitting us with tariffs. We've lost a bunch of jobs, but incomparable to the amount of jobs they've lost in the United States. Incomparable to the price hikes on these items in the United States and services in the United States. He is literally punishing Americans by ending negotiations with Canada, literally punishing Americans. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 85% of trade that currently goes between two countries today, this has not changed during the whole tariff bullshit war, is tariff free. It's covered under CUSMA. So only 15% of our trade is actually being targeted by ending negotiations. I talked to someone in the PMO's office and I'm like, hey, how do you feel about it? He goes, whatever, dude. Like he's like, whatever. Like, it's 15% of our trade, and we're going to make sure that those industries can keep those jobs, and we're going to go ahead and diversify with other countries. And we've been doing it now for 10 months. This is just another temper tantrum by a man who has no fucking idea what he's doing. And I think if you look at it from that lens, this is, by the way, Canada's position, just so everybody understands. Oh,
it's home time.
We got a cute moment.
Oh, hey.
Her phone say hi. Look,
Hi.
say
How
hi.
are you? Hi. Who's this?
Hi.
That's my little one. Her phone, the battery died, so we have a 911 going on.
It's emergency because she's got to watch the 5 stack, and you're cutting her off. So
exactly.
Hi.
Say hi. Wave to everybody. Say hi.
Say hello.
Hi.
She's
Hi, little lady. Mommy will fix it. But thank you for that cute little interlude. It was getting intense here. Yeah, that was just so cute, man. By the way, you're gonna be a very busy dad for the next 15 years. But my point is this: is that if anybody is asking Canada or asking what the details of Donald Trump telling us to go fuck our hats are, here's the truth: it doesn't matter. Because we knew it didn't matter. And we ended negotiations with Trump 2 days ago before he decided, no, I'm breaking up with you over a television commercial. And to that point, Zev, you're 100% right. Lev, you're 100% right. These are the machinations of an insane baby. What we call them in my business and this business, beta cucks. The guy saw a television commercial and he was like, that's it, it's over. And everybody apparently looked around at him and was like, dude, what are you doing? Why would you put that Truth Social tweet out? And he's like, do you know how embarrassing that is for Canada? Using our own words against us, making me look bad. And they're like, well, dude, like this is what I've heard. And I'd love to kind of co-sign this with you, Lev. There are certain people still around him going, what are you doing, dude? You're making us look like a bunch of babies. Because that's what it looks like. When you have a problem with a television commercial, and you end trade relations with a country over it, that's ultimate baby shit, is it not?
It's it's beyond baby shit, because the baby shit is, yes, that we look at as his actual tantrums and the way he does things and the way he responds, yes, that, but what's actually playing out is really serious stuff. Like this
Yeah.
is just think about it. I mean, you got right now. I mean, the reason I looked to the right and I just had to pause it because right now Kirill Dmitriev is now on CNN also. He's doing a world tour right now, talking about is sitting here saying, "Hey, we're here because we need to have the number one relationships." And this is what Kirill Dmitriev is saying. This is what Putin is saying, that for the world to be safe and for the world to prosper, America and Russia need to be great friends.
Yeah, it's a
America and
threat.
Russia, exactly. So this is the campaign that's being produced. Just think about the day after. This is I want everybody to think about how crazy. The day after they sanction them, supposedly with these drastic sanctions, you have an actual sanctioned individual flying into the United States on every news channel right now, television, doing a promo, talking about how it is important, how we need to have free trade between the United States and America, and how this tunnel is really a reality. This is crazy. I mean, I couldn't
And
even.
cutting off Canada at the same time. The other thing that's happening just
Okay.
now is everyone should realize there's a striker ship that's being sent from the United States into the Caribbean to be on standby for whatever it is they're going to do to Venezuela. So we look like we're entering into real war territory with Venezuela. All at the same time as this is happening. So you've got an entire group
I
apparently.
heard I heard we have boots on the ground. My sources are telling me
It's
that
we may well.
we have
Already?
CIA, that we have CIA and special forces on the ground in Venezuela.
Covert forces are in there
Covert
already.
forces,
They've
yeah,
admitted
on the
that
ground.
already.
Oh,
But
they have.
this is a U.S. carrier strike group that's being ordered there, so we're going to get into war. And to point, Lev, about why this is so serious, and because this is a madman who, in the middle of the night, can cut off negotiations with Canada. He's a madman who can start a war with Venezuela just on the whim because he's not going to check with Congress, even though Congress is not even sitting, so they couldn't approve this. But he doesn't care. He'll build the tunnel on a whim. He'll tear down the east wing of the White House on a whim, and he'll start a war with Venezuela and start a trade war and a real war with Canada on a whim because he doesn't care about democracy. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about how he got there. He just cares about assuming power and having total power. And this is why this moment is so serious for Americans. It gets much worse from here. It doesn't get better. There is a lot more pain and trouble coming down if this administration continues in the path that it's on right now, in a way that we almost can't imagine. So the seriousness of this moment cannot be understated.
I think not only are you right, but I think it's even more serious and more dangerous because forget about Trump. And I keep telling everybody, me and Michael Cohen speak about we might agree or disagree on a lot of things, but one thing we keep telling everybody is Donald Trump. Yeah, we know, just like you said, everything you're talking about, we know he's capable of doing it. We know that he's crazy and he could do this. We know that he's a narcissist. We know that he. But the crazy part, just think about this. Like Donald Trump came out and made this statement about, all these people. Where are all the other congressmen and senators? I mean, the Reagan lovers. Where are the Republicans? Where's everybody coming
Vacation
out
on a
and talking
taxpayer vacation right now. That's where they're
exactly,
at.
but exactly, but this is what I'm saying to you. But where's the outrage of everybody else? This is not a bipartisan issue. This is not, I mean, the whole. You should have independents screaming. You should have. You shouldn't be just, people on the left talking about like, wait a second, did he just tell Canada that we're going to cut because of a commercial, a television commercial? Yeah, wait a second. Is Kirill Dmitriev actually here discussing while yesterday he said, screw Russia, we're sanctioning them and doing it? Like, this is what I'm saying to you. There's no outrage where's Lindsey Graham? Where's Lindsey Graham talking about we have to, sanction Russia even harder? How come he's not on TV saying, why is Kirill Dmitriev here?
They're
Where's
all on
all
vacation. They're all on a
that's what I'm saying.
taxpayer-funded vacation right now.
All of these enablers, and this is where I keep saying I think where the disconnect I think we're having with a lot of people, and that's why I'm trying to keep bringing up that point, is we always keep talking about Donald Trump. We keep saying Donald Trump, but we need to, we know Donald Trump, but that's not what is happening. Donald Trump by himself has no power to do all these things he's doing. The only reason he's capable of doing, or the only reason he's capable of making that statement is because he knows, like you said, Congress is on vacation. Johnson, nobody's going to come out. Lindsey Graham's not going to come out against him. Nobody's going to come out and start saying, wait a second, what is going on here? No, we don't agree with you, Donald Trump. We don't. Nobody's standing up to him. We don't have. That is why he could come up in the middle of the night and say, you know what? I woke up today and I decided, you know what?
Fuck Canada.
Yeah, or you know what? Let's take over Mexico. You know, no, we're gonna.
He still plans to do that.
Which is exactly, which is a part of the plans to do it. Who is going to come up and say, just think about that nobody in the Republican Party is stepping up, talking about how dare a U.S. president do what he's doing. Nobody in the Republican Party is talking about that we are killing people in the middle of the ocean that have not, except for Rand Paul. You have only Rand Paul talking about, like, what is going on here, people? Like, think about it.
And no one in the media is either. I mean, the failure of the media to cover this effectively is unbelievable. I mean, they ran with his, stupid bullshit reason of, I'm canceling this because of this TV ad, because of this fake TV ad. That was the front page story on the Washington Post this morning. That is not the actual story. The actual story is much deeper than that, as we've been discussing. But no one's covering that. Every single person is talking about this ad. The ad is not the reason. The ad is that these tariff wars are causing great amount of pain for people in America, and that he is inflicting it at whim, on a late night whim, because he doesn't want Canada to be an ally anymore, and he's more interested in helping Russia. That's the story. But he's not willing to go there. They're not willing to go there. They're just abdicating their responsibility as the fourth estate and just running with his narratives day in and day out, like it's legitimate news, and they're not even questioning him. You hear it in the press pool every day. There are no challenging questions anymore. Nobody asks him anything difficult. He doesn't even. He just gets a pass for everything.
Yeah, you know what? It's embarrassing because everybody's talking about the tweet. Everybody's talking about the Truth Social posts, both of them. Everybody's talking about, what did Canada do? And the only thing Canada did was try to negotiate in good faith. That's the only thing Canada did. And the only other thing Canada did was not give in to Donald Trump, which has pissed Donald Trump off. You remember when Mark was in the Oval Office about 2 weeks ago, if you guys remember this? And he's like, why, if you love him so much, you think Mark Carney's such a great guy, and you love Canada so much, why don't you get a deal done? And at the time, everybody thought it was really funny, but now it makes more sense to me because it was so self-centric. He said, because I want to be a great man too. Right. And that's really what all this comes down to, is that this is all about Donald Trump. It always has been. It'll never not be about Donald Trump, his legacy, him not losing, him not getting broken up with first by Canada 2 days before. He's like, no, I'm breaking up with you. Like, it is all about his ego. And what's interesting is what hides behind this. And Lev, I want to ask you this question because your old buddy Steve Bannon seemed pretty cocksure in an interview the other day where he was like, can you hear me still? Yeah, can't hear you. Can't hear you. You want to come back, go out and come back in. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't think he can.
Lev, can you hear me, Lev?
I can hear you.
No, you can hear me. He'll come back in.
Yeah.
What was I saying? I was flowing.
You're talking about Steve Bannon in 2028.
Yeah. I mean, like, these guys act like everything's done already, right? And that's what I found really interesting is that, behind the distractions and all the bullshit, I don't know if you saw this, but Steve Bannon is being interviewed last week. And Bannon was so cocksure. He just like flippant. He goes, yeah, Trump's going to run and win again in 2028. So,
you know what? It just blows my mind away. They're basically saying that Donald Trump is going to be in power at least until 2032, which, if you consider the fact that he first was in power in 2016, gives him 16 years in office, with an interruption there with Biden. But that is almost, an entire generation worth of people who are going to believe that dictatorships are the way to go. I mean, this is basically what they're setting up. Of course, it's impossible legally right now for there to be a third term. They might find a workaround, but that workaround is designed to entrench in everyone's mind for an entire generation that you can have just one leader in power in America for that 16-year period, 20-year period, no matter what it is. And they'll do what Putin does, or what Bibi's now contemplating in Israel, which is, Bibi will become the president of Israel, while someone else will be the prime minister for a term or two, and then he'll come back and be the prime minister. I mean, this is the kind of stupidness that they expect Americans to buy into, unless Americans stand up and stop it right now. I mean, this is not we know what the story goes. We can see the story. Everybody should be able to see the story by now. How many Nazi, how many things that Hitler did that Donald Trump is doing do you need to see? What kind of a checklist do you need to see to know that you're watching another Reich taking place and that another, fascist leader, a dictator intent on a world war is busy taking shape in the United States? You can see it. It's there for everyone to see.
But to your point, mainstream media isn't touching those stories. They're not connecting those dots. And I just want to kind of further what you just said about mainstream media. And I'll give flowers where I have to. I'll throw bricks and bouquets where I need to. I want to put CNN on the clock today. And I'll tell you why. The only news network that refused to cover and run that commercial, the only news network that said, yeah, you know what, we're just a little uncomfortable running this ad that Ontario wants to put on the airwaves today, was CNN. And Doug Ford said that. And listen, I'm not a Doug Ford fan. And everybody, if you're wondering, if you're just joining us, what we're talking about is this commercial where the government of Ontario, it's a province in Canada. We've got most of our viewers are in the United States, province in Canada, 75 million into an ad. Now it's 150 million. They're going to blow this ad up that pissed Donald Trump off so much, using Ronald Reagan's words about how stupid tariffs are to penalize your allies. And it was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was well done. Donald Trump saw it, took an issue with it. And by the way, that's going to be played before Game 1 tonight of your Toronto.
Oh yeah, there's something happening tonight. Isn't there like a baseball game? Is that what you said? Isn't there the baseball is on tonight?
Dude, see, this is it's the storylines, and this is one thing I'll give Trump flowers for.
Yeah.
He'll insert himself into something, and he will insert himself into the Canada versus the United States, Dodgers versus the Toronto Blue Jays World Series, Game 1 tonight, 8:08. Blue Jays are going to win 6-2 tonight. I just wanted to put that out there for all you bettors, all you degens. If you're like me, you're going to want to know they're going to win 6-2. But I just wanted to point this out because it's a very important point, is that he breathes his sports washing into everything. And Donald Trump is going to turn this World Series into the most watched World Series because Canada is in the World Series. Canada's only Major League Baseball team is in the World Series. And the reason why is because those ads that pissed off Donald Trump so much have now made the province of Ontario has now made a major purchase during the World Series in the United States and here in Canada to play this ad. And hear me out. You're going to love it, folks. Ad nauseum.
Great.
They are going to flood the airwaves with this because they know something now. Canada knows, Ontario knows, and listen, I can't stand Doug Ford. He's as corrupt as it comes, but he will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And he's got mittfuls of government money to advocate on behalf of Ontario and the Canadian people. And so when you see these two idiots go to where I'm British, it's by the way, that's British for idiot. You see these two idiots fighting. That's another storyline I can't wait to uncover. Like, I cannot fucking wait for the World Series to be.
I mean, it is turning out to be an incredible narrative, and that is great. And I hope I hope the Jays actually win. Even though I was trying to find a counterpoint and think that the Dodgers should win in this case, now I really am supportive of the Jays because someone's got to show him what's up. But,
so, dude, I was talking to Schmidt, just a quick aside about the World Series tonight. I was talking to Schmidt today. And Steve Schmidt, The Warning, everybody should follow him. He's awesome. He should be the next president of the United States, if you ask me.
I've said that a few times.
Be the fucking
I've said that to him, and
dude.
He thinks I'm crazy every time I said it.
No, he should be the president. I'm gonna get on him about becoming the next president of the United States.
He's got presence,
Yeah, dude, he's so good.
Yeah,
and he's such a good man too. Anyway, Schmidt and I were talking about it today, and he said, dude, he was in New York. He did Nicole Wallace's show yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. He was great.
Yeah, he was good.
And he goes, he said, dude, I'm in New York giving a speech after the Wallace interview.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, I'm a little hoarse because I went to Game 7 of the Toronto Blue Jays versus, it was an unbelievable game. And as he says it, hundreds of New Yorkers stand up and start cheering, go Blue Jays, go Blue Jays, go Blue Jays. And Steve said, dude, down here, the entire country outside of Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles area, is rooting for the Toronto Blue Jays because they fucking hate Donald Trump this much. That is going to be an incredible storyline during this World Series.
Oh, you know what? I hope Americans really pick up that story. And despite the fact that the Dodgers are a very different team, I get all that, and I've had to learn about all this stuff. But this is now
proud of
turning
you,
into.
by the way, I'm proud of you for looking into reading sports articles.
I just had to learn a thing or two. But Canada, Canada is the last frontier of what we knew as the free world. Yes, some of that still exists, obviously, in Europe, and they've got their own issues that they're dealing with. But Canada is what's left of the United States ideals of liberty, justice, equality. That's what the United States lost with Donald Trump, and what Canada stands firm with the leadership of Mark Carney. And it's not going to be easy for Canada. Canada is going to pay a huge price to defend those values. But I strongly believe that they will be the ones who defend those values harder and more stronger than anybody else, not for themselves, but for the American people, because they want the American people to be free as well. And, we do need the American people to be free. I mean, the world needs an America that's free, because that's how the world works best. We've seen it for the last 80 years. The world does not look good when you've got someone like this guy, Donald Trump, ordering this country into wars, thinking about, doing the things he's doing, destroying the White House, doing all the terrible things that he's doing to the people of America, deporting them. People are bleeding out in prison cells because of just no health care. This is disgusting. This is not the America that America knows and the world loves. So Canada, deserves all the support. The Blue Jays deserve all their support, and I hope everyone does that in the next series.
Yeah, I do too. They will. World Series tonight, by the way, 8:03 first pitch, 8:03 Eastern Standard Time. Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. So a couple hours from now, Toronto Blue Jays will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers at home, World Series. And let me kind of wrap up the 5-stack today by kind of encapsulating the reasons why Donald Trump is coming after Canada. Yes, it's a distraction. Yes, it's because he's entertaining a Russian delegation trying to literally normalize a relationship with a genocidal dictator in Vladimir Putin, trying to do trade, trying to get everybody. He's got Kirill Dmitriev coming over here, running around on every news station, talking about how the world doesn't work unless Russia and the United States are best friends. Donald Trump believes that. He truly does believe that. But the reason why he's coming after Canada is because we still stand for, and you bring up a great point, what America was. And our existence and our values and our character is an embarrassment to him, because it is a shining example living right next door about what they used to be and what they are not anymore under one Donald J. Trump. So any way he can penalize us, any way he can try to hurt us, any way he can try to embarrass us, he will take that opportunity. But let me assure my American friends, and let me also assure any Canadian watching today, not only does Canada not give a single fuck anymore about what he says or what he threatens us with on social media, because Taco Trump will always be Taco Trump. Canada will never not stand for democratic values for the people, by the people. Canada will never abandon America. Canada will never, ever abandon Americans, because we know this country is that country in its very beautiful essence. And so that embarrassment got to Donald Trump yesterday. The embarrassment of Mark Carney saying, you can go fuck yourself on national television. The embarrassment of Doug Ford in the province of Ontario airing a commercial using Ronald Reagan's words to embarrass Donald Trump's cacistocracy and his inability to do anything fucking right for the American people. And he's also embarrassed that Mark Carney and the government of Canada refuse to give him what he wants. What are those things? Let me tell you what those are. Part of this sectoral deal that Mark Carney was getting set to announce, which is now dead. Canada ended that relationship, was for steel and aluminum. What Canada refused to include in that deal was our energy rare earth material. All of our minerals, lithium, we have the biggest energy deposits in the world, biggest rare earth minerals in the world. And we're doing a nation building project to take them out of the ground, start to sell them and diversify to other people. Okay? That is what Donald Trump truly fucking wants. And we didn't include that in this sectoral deal. We refused to. And it was amazing how fast after that decision was made, how Mark Carney came out and said, it's over. Something happened behind the scenes. And what we think happened behind the scenes was Donald Trump threatened Canada His regime threatened Canada. He threatened the government of Canada. You include your energy in this. We get first right of refusal to buy mines, buy energy mines, lithium mines, to dig, to survey, to get what we want so we can fucking plunder your country. Mark Carney said, fuck you. Fuck you.
Well, that's the case. That is the right thing for that prime minister to do, and it's the reason that prime minister was elected prime minister is to handle these situations, because that would be selling out Canadians, but it would also be selling out Americans. Because those values you talk about are strengthened by the fact that Canada has all these resources, that Canada has all these rare earth minerals that America desperately wants. That's why it has the power to fight the United States.
Well, we also have legitimate people in leadership positions. Like Canada is run by a technocrat, a genius, a doctor, someone who understands. He's surrounded himself with the best people for this job. In the United States, they're literally sending clowns to the fucking table.
Yeah, that's all they have. They know who would work for Donald Trump. Only
clowns.
The clowns. Only the
clowns.
Well, that is the 5 Stack today on a special edition live from your wedding. Did you have a good wedding, by the way? You did
great wedding, yeah. My
good?
niece got married. Beautiful wedding. She looked stunning. The entire family's here. Generations of Blundells are here. We've got
how much fun is that?
92-year-old Gam. She showed up today. I was lucky enough to be her date. It was great. Oh, she's the queen of my soul. That woman. I love her. Oh my God, Mary Keith, I love you so much. Jimmy and Sue, my folks were there. Everybody was crying. I was the only person who didn't cry, by the way. My brother's daughter got married. My brother's a reverend. He officiated the wedding. Got to walk his daughter down the aisle. My sister's here with her beautiful family. It was awesome. It was just great. So anyway, we got the reception coming up, and I ducked out of the reception. I literally left the wedding, came here to be with all of my friends on Substack, to meet with my friend Zev Shalev, to get my boy Lev Parnas on so that we could dig into this conversation, because this is going to be very important. Canada is not leaving the United States. Canada is also not doing business with Donald Trump. Canada is interested in democracy in North America, and we will fight like crazy. And we're not going anywhere. So that's why it was important that I show up.
You also have a party you better get back to. So congratulations to you, to your brother, to your niece, and everybody else who's celebrating today in BC there. It's great that you're having this nice event for your niece there, but it's also great that you get to see your family. And you should spend every minute you can with them. So I'm going to send you off right now. It's deanblundell.substack.com, where you have to go and register for all the great news about the Canada-Trump and the Canada-Trump trade war.
Everything we talked about, you want a deep dive, deanblundell.substack.com, 50% off for the rest of the month. We want you in these chats, and that's how you get in. Free or paid, doesn't matter. Share this content. Hit those hearts. Share this conversation. Specifically with any Canadian or American who's like, I don't mind Trump, actually. It's not bad. Share this with them. They'll change their mind, I promise. And make sure you go to narrative.org. Make sure you subscribe to my friend Zev Shalev. I almost called you Lev again. It's so hard. There's too many Evs. Zev Shalev's narrative.org. Some really deep dives. And what do you have coming up for us today?
I'm about to hit send after we get off here. I'll post the analysis on the whole waking up the Reagan's ghost and the tariff war conversation. I've got analysis in there that everyone will want to read. I'll put that up after we get off the air right now.
Buddy, great to see you. It's always good. I fucking love you, man. I love doing these things.
We have a good time.
Great time. Yeah.
Go have fun.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody. Cheers.